What's going on, Dub Nation? Welcome to Warriors Today by Chat Sports. I'm Tyler Smith, and on today's show, we got some comments from Buddy Hield on his first day of being a Golden State Warrior, how excited he is to play with this whole crew, and we're going to explore a potential trade for Jerami Grant, as the recent reports about Lauri Markkanen have not been positive for Golden State. Doesn't look like there's going to be a trade made there. Could Jerami Grant be a piece that improves this Golden State roster? We're going to dive into that, see what it would take, and how he would fit in on the Warriors on today's show. Before we get into anything, though, if you're still excited to watch this Golden State Warriors roster play this year, I know Lauri Markkanen likely won't be a part of it, but if you're still hyped for your Golden State Warriors, go on ahead and like the video. Dub Nation, we need you today. Today's goal is 600 likes. Let's see how excited, how pumped up you guys are to watch Jonathan Kuminga, Brandon Pajemski, all these young players take their next step, and obviously Steph Curry at the helm still. Like today's video, and we'll get started with today's show. So Buddy Hield was introduced as a member of the Golden State Warriors, and he had some nice comments about joining this organization and what it means to play for Golden State. He was talking to a bunch of campers at a Warriors children's summer camp this offseason, and this is what he had to say about kind of joining Golden State in this new stage of his career. He said, "I just known for years that the Warriors was a team I'd always wanted to play for. The way they move the ball, they're always in championship caliber mode. And just to learn from guys like Steph and Draymond and Steve and Andrew, because I admire the way that they approach the game, and I just want to be a part of that and see what it's like to be on this side." So honestly, those comments from Buddy Hield, I'm very happy to hear such a positive attitude. You know, in the past 2 or so seasons, it really has kind of been melancholic in this Golden State Warriors locker room with the whole Draymond and Jordan Poole saga, then bringing in Chris Paul, not really having a direction last season, Steve Kerr playing inconsistent lineups and rotations and not playing his young talent as much as he should have. So it's nice to see somebody coming in to this Golden State roster with a happy, positive attitude and a willingness to buy into the system and what have you, because it really hasn't felt like that these past couple seasons in Golden State. It hasn't had the magic that the dynasty years did. Even going all the way to 2022 when we won the title again. There really hasn't been a positive attitude throughout this organization, and I hope Buddy Hield is a catalyst in kind of changing of the guard and the whole mood in Golden State. And I'd expect Hield to play a pretty substantial role in this lineup. I mean, I've talked at length about the possibility that he could start and possibility of him coming off the bench, but this is a guy who you got to replace a big hole on the roster, and that's three-point shooting, what this team has been known to excel at over the past decade. And Buddy Hield is just that, a near 40% three-point shooter for his entire career, and last season he split time between Indiana and Philadelphia when he got traded at the deadline over to the Sixers. And at the beginning of his tenure with Philly, he was actually really good, and it was one of those situations where his defense kind of struggled, and that caused him to lose a little bit of rotation minutes. And then, by losing those rotation minutes, he went a little bit cold from distance, and that kind of made him unplayable for Philly down the stretch of their playoff run. But he did have a big game in that postseason against the Knicks, a massive fourth quarter flurry of threes that he had there. And over the past few seasons, I mean, he's been the definition of consistency. Just coming up, just a year removed from shooting nearly 43% from three-point range, and that was on a ton of volume, a career-high 17 points per night, playing 80 games for Indiana in 2022-23. And then last year, he was solid between the two organizations, hoping to get that number in the three-point percentage up to or closer to 40%. And that's what you're going to want from Buddy Hield, right? Because he's just a knockdown shooter at multiple spots throughout the court. It doesn't matter if it's, one dribble to, pump fake, one dribble to the right, catch and shoot, a step back three. Buddy Hield is going to knock it down. Catch and shoot three-point percentage, 39%. Beautiful. Corner three, 43%. So you're going to love to see him in that right and left corner. Above the break, 37%. That's good enough. And his shot diet, I know we've looked at charts like this for Lauri Markkanen before, and his was about 50%. Buddy Hield's three-point attempt percentage rate is 66.8%. Over 2/3 of Buddy Hield's shot attempts are going to be coming from beyond the arc. And his true shooting percentage of 57.8, that's good enough for Buddy Hield, a guy who doesn't really get to the line a ton, so that really kind of affects the true shooting percentage. Buddy Hield's knocked down, and you got this guy Golden State signed Buddy Hield to replace Klay's shooting. Now, do they replace the whole player that Klay Thompson is? Probably not. They kind of rebuilt him in the aggregate. Shout out to Moneyball with signing D'Anthony Melton for a little bit of spark, energy, athleticism, and defense. And you bring in Buddy Hield for that complementary shooting. So they kind of remade Klay Thompson with a couple of different contracts and some different players that have different skill sets that can attack you in a whole bunch of different ways. My season projection for Buddy Hield is about this, and I think this would be very successful. If he was over 14.5 points a night, the rebounds and assists, it's never going to be something that you're looking for Buddy Hield to make a huge impact in, but he's getting there. He actually had a season where he averaged nearly 5 dimes a game. So could he be more of a ball mover in this, unselfish Golden State offense? That's to be seen. And I hope he gets back to that 40% three-point percentage number. Obviously, we say his shot diet's 2/3 of his shots are threes, so his regular field goal percentage isn't going to be too high. Just hope that three-point percentage gets to about 40%. And I expect Buddy Hield to be a starter to begin the season. I mean, as far as what Steve Kerr has been known to do with his lineups with Golden State, he hasn't been too keen on playing the young talent right away or giving them as long of a leash as, say, a veteran like a Buddy Hield would get. So I expect Buddy to be in the starting lineup at the beginning, opening night of the 2024-25 season. And at that point, I expect him to have the green light to be able to shoot 7 to 8 three-pointers per game, day in and day out. Now, if you look at the Warriors' shooting guard depth chart here, Buddy's at the top, D'Anthony Melton's there, Moses Moody is there. So how are you going to figure out those three guys in the lineup? Then obviously you have Gary Payton. He's got to be available, of course. But Brandon Podziemski is with a question mark on the end here because there's a possibility that Steve Kerr runs a lineup of Steph Curry and Brandon Podziemski in the backcourt, and then you have Buddy Hield, D'Anthony Melton, and Moses Moody to split time at the 2 and the 1 and potentially the 3 on the bench. That just doesn't seem like the best allocation of resources for me. Feels like it has to be Buddy in the starting lineup and then Brandon Podziemski to kind of handle the ball handling duties in the second unit. But this is your Golden State Warriors shooting guard depth chart right now. There's a lot of mouths to feed here, and it's going to be interesting to see what lineups that Steve Kerr goes with to start the season and what lineups work the best for this Golden State roster that feels a little loaded right now with the amount of depth they have, but not enough top-end talent. But what's your take? Should Buddy Hield start or come off the bench? I want you to hear from you guys in the comments section. If you think he should start, type an S down in the comments section. If you think he should come off the bench, be in that second unit, type those B's down below. I want to hear from Golden State Warriors fans everywhere about this topic. Next, we're going to break down a potential trade for Jerami Grant. I know we talked about Lauri Markkanen at length for weeks. Doesn't look like it's happening now, so we have to pivot. We have to shift our focus elsewhere. We're going to talk about a trade for Portland's wing. But before we do, got to get you guys dripped out. Steph Curry, Team USA, they're playing South Sudan as we record this video, and they're trying to go for gold. So go get your Steph Curry Team USA merch. Could be the one and only time that you could ever get Steph Curry Olympic jerseys because he's old. He's not going to play in another one. Hasn't played in one before. The 2024 Olympics is your time to get dripped out in a different Steph Curry jersey because we hope we never see him in a jersey other than Golden State unless it's Team USA. Chatsports.com/CurryUSA. I'm thinking of getting myself one. I'm going to put that link in the comments and description of today's video to make it easier for you guys. One more time, chatsports.com/CurryUSA to get some Steph Curry Team USA merch. All right, let's break it down. Jerami Grant to the Golden State Warriors. Is it possible? Could it happen? How could it happen? Portland is reported to move one of Jerami Grant or Anthony Simons. Could Golden State be one of the potential teams that go in and get trade talk started with Portland? They've done it before. Let's see if they could do it again. And I know it's not Lauri Markkanen. I know Lauri Markkanen is probably a better player than Jerami Grant, can affect the game in a different way than Jerami Grant can, being 7 foot and whatnot. But I still think that this is a move that Golden State should explore to improve its roster. Here is what a Trailblazers beat reporter had to say about the rumors surrounding Jerami Grant and Anthony Simons. He said, "I would be surprised if Jerami Grant or Anthony Simons, that one of the two is not moved. I was told that that's definitely the goal, that one of the two would probably be gone before training camp, which starts in about a month from now, a month and a half." Jerami Grant, he's a good player. This is a guy who's definitely strong-suited in the scoring department. You're not really going to get much from him crashing the glass. I know he plays the 4 a lot, but he's undersized at that position, and he really isn't somebody who's going and cleaning the glass and grabbing a ton of rebounds. Also not a crazy great facilitator, but he is underrated, will find the open teammate when possible. But one thing that stands out to me about Jerami Grant over the past couple of seasons is he has become an elite three-point shooter. Elite three-point shooter. On about 5 attempts a game, the guy's shooting 40% over the last 2 seasons. I can understand why the Trailblazers want 2 first-round picks for Jerami Grant because he has elevated his game. For a long time, I thought Jerami Grant was a losing basketball player, empty stats, terrible defender, and I've been proven wrong on some of those things, especially over the last couple of seasons. He does turn 30 next March, though, so he is in the midst of his prime. That's why Portland is likely requesting 2 first-round picks for Jerami Grant, but he's also on a pretty big contract. I mean, if you look at the next 4 seasons for Jerami Grant here, he's making $30+ million in every single year, and then you go down to that 27-28 season, got a $36 million player option. Now, as far as a percentage of the cap goes, it's probably not going to be too much. It's not going to look like a crazy overpay when you get to 2027, but this is still a lot of money for a guy who hasn't been a number 2 option on a really good team. He's always been on kind of mid to poor performing teams. I mean, Portland, Detroit, those teams were awful. The early days with Philly, he wasn't on many good teams, and then with OKC were probably his best days, kind of riding Russ's MVP coattails. But I think that Jerami Grant fits pretty well in this Golden State lineup. Obviously, we've talked about it at length, is that Steph Curry needs a secondary scorer next to him. This is a 20-plus point per game night, bona fide. No doubt about it, you're getting 20 from Jerami Grant every single night. Could be a second scoring punch, could be your third scoring punch if you really wanted to lean on Jonathan Kuminga more in that regard. But again, a guy who can space the floor, 40% shooter. And I was watching his film a little bit earlier today to get a better insight on Jerami Grant, and he attacks the rim at a high percentage and finishes at a high percentage. So for a Golden State offense that wants to shoot the 3 ball, dribble penetration, get to the rack, kick out to open shooters, or go up and finish it at the rim. 3s and layups. That's how the Celtics just won an NBA championship. And 3-level scoring. I saw him working guys in ISO in the mid-range. Obviously, you can catch and shoot from the top of the key. Corners, wing, doesn't matter. He's all over the map when it comes to 3-point shooting. And then, like I just said, he can get to the rim and finish at a high efficiency as well. Underrated defense. I've been maybe a casual, maybe not knowing ball here with how I've categorized Jerami Grant as a defender over the past couple of years. But he's underrated, man. He's got a good frame, bigger than Andrew Wiggins, and I think he can defend 3s and 4s, switching on and off with Jonathan Kuminga, and I think it would be good enough defense coming out of Jerami Grant here. So what would it take in a potential trade to bring him to Golden State? Well, here's the idea. Because Portland, wants 2 first-round picks in this deal, we're going to give him 2 first-round picks in this deal. Probably want those closer to now than later, because you never know when Steph Curry ends up retiring. And thinking back to his contract a little bit earlier, Jerami Grant, he has more years on his deal than Draymond Green said he has left in the NBA. So that could be a potential long-term replacement at the 4, or Steve Kerr wants a lineup where you could put Draymond at the 5, you could put Grant at the 4, Kuminga at the 3, Hield at the 2, Curry at the 1, Podziemski in there whenever you want him as well. But Andrew Wiggins would be leaving in this deal. Gary Payton would be leaving in this deal. See ya in Portland again, Gary. But this is one of those things where you're keeping Brandon Podziemski and Jonathan Kuminga, and that's been the priority for Golden State, right? And yes, I hear you guys in the comments. Nobody that Golden State can trade for in one move makes them a title contender. Doesn't push them to the top of the West anytime soon. But this is still a solid move that you make to go out there and improve your roster while not losing any players that you're looking to build around for the future. You're not losing Kuminga, you're not losing Podziemski, you're not losing Trey Jackson-Davis, and not even losing Moses Moody in this deal. You're giving up a veteran in Andrew Wiggins, who Golden State has been open to moving over the past season or so, and Gary Payton II, who really has never been too healthy for Golden State, and he picked up a $9 million player option, so you got to throw his contract in there. I like this deal a lot, but I want to hear from you guys. What do you think? Would you make this trade? Type A for accept down in the comments if you think you would make this deal, or type D for decline if you're thinking, hell no, that's way too much. I ain't giving up 2 first-round picks for Jerami Grant. I don't think there'd be anybody who'd be too hard opposed to throwing Andrew Wiggins in this deal, but I'm sure there would be the picks that would make some of you guys type those Ds down in the comments. Let me know what you guys think. And that'll do it for today's Golden State Warriors Today by Chat Sports. Subscribe to the channel for nonstop Warriors offseason coverage. We're bringing you videos basically every day of the entire year. It doesn't matter if it's preseason, training camp, regular season, postseason, hopefully, and the offseason, of course, which is where we thrive here at Warriors Today. YouTube.com/WarriorsTV for more videos. Subscribe. We'll see you next time. Go Dubs.